Hello everybody and welcome back to another Train Sim World 2 news video. Today I'm going to be discussing sort of my thoughts and feelings and reactions to DTG's latest live stream, which was live streamed yesterday, assuming I release this video on Saturday, of course. It might come out on Sunday, but anyway, whenever it comes out, you'll obviously see it by now. But yeah, I'm going to be reacting to DTG's second Train Sim World sort of talk through live stream Q&A. Community Q&A thing. Basically just sort of giving my thoughts and opinions. Obviously last time, if you watched my last video, like this, then you would have noticed there were certain points in it I was not particularly happy about. Yeah, everybody's gonna love me for that one. But anyway, today, we're gonna be, We're going to be diving into the second live stream and having a look and sort of reviewing it, all the information from this new live stream. So without further ado, let's get into it. So the live stream again was hosted by Sam and Matt, as it was last time. It's about a month ago actually, the last one. So we've been waiting a while for sort of for more information. Related to the video I did on Thursday, the main concentration on this was Sandpatch Grade tonight. So they basically sort of went through everything that Sandpatch Grade has to offer and how it's going to be different from what it used to be and all that. First off, they started saying that there was going to be no new gameplay footage. They did show the trailer at the end, but of course everybody's seen the trailer. The other thing they also said is they want to make sure that the stream is about what the game is and not what the game isn't. And last time it was very much about what is not going to be in the game, because obviously a lot of the questions were based on, is this going to be there? Is this going to be there? No, it isn't. No, it isn't. Nothing new's going to be sort of released. This time, obviously, they wanted to talk about more of the positives, which I get. Let's face it, it wasn't a particularly great marketing strategy for DTG last time, was it? So this time they certainly did it better adjusted, and I've got nothing really to I'll just sort of say here, I've got nothing really to sort of particularly moan about. So without further ado, let's start going through the main content of the live stream and we'll see what we find. See what we can talk about. So first of all, I've had to make my own flashcards this week because GTG didn't appear to have any this week on their live stream, which was interesting, but nonetheless, here you go. And apologies for the dodgy music returning, but you know, it separates things out nicely, right? Right. Anyway, on with the rest of the video. So, first question. Why are they bringing Sandpatch Grades to 2? Well, firstly, it was the original route. You know, it was the first one they did, and apparently, by the same of things, which, to be honest, when you look at it, it is one of the most visually pleasing routes in Train Sim World. So, I fully agree with this. All the devs were really keen on getting this one in. Apparently a lot of the other main reason is that the console players wanted to have a look. So if you're a console player, you might have been sort of seeing footage of the PC version of Sandpatch Grade and you really wanted to play it, but of course it was never coming to console, and they go through some of the details of that and I'll go through them later. But basically, they wanted to bring Sandpatch Grade to console, and now they've developed the game more, they can. Next, they went on to talk about what they've learned since they initially built Sandpatch Grade. So basically, it's sort of that they were... The things that they could have done better, they felt, was that they were still building the game, they were building the assets, they were building the route, they're finding out how to do stuff in comparison to Train Sim. So basically, it was all sort of up in the air for them, they didn't really know. Now, I fully understand that, it's fair enough, they were sort of experimenting with stuff. It came out beautifully. We can't deny that it did come out beautifully, and it is still probably one of the best pieces of DLC for Train Sim World that we actually have. But sort of the stuff that they said they could have done better was, basically a whole bunch of optimization stuff, and they go on a lot about optimization. They want to just sort of bring everything up to scratch and make it run better, make it look a little bit better, all that kind of stuff. So again, back to what I was saying, why didn't they bring it to consoles before? Well, apparently there was a whole bunch of stuff with mostly scenery, materials and foliage specifically. So apparently they used a lot of materials, so they're sort of the ground textures and stuff, so the ballast, the grass, the dirt. They used a lot of them, which apparently the consoles was quite limited to. Again, it goes back to why you shouldn't really have a train simulator on a console when you used to have the train sim on just the PC, because it's really not cut out for it. Looking at you, DTG. But nonetheless, Yeah, they couldn't bring it over to it because of all these materials. The console just couldn't cope with the materials. Also, the foliage, obviously all the 3D trees and all the amount of trees there are on that route, it just couldn't cope with it. There was too much going on, and it just sort of basically was too much for consoles to handle. So the main sort of thing that they wanted to achieve with this is to optimize it and make it more efficient, make it less intense, and make it run significantly better. Another thing they optimised, of course, is the trains. Apparently the trains were quite clunky in the way they were set up, and they were very unoptimised. But apparently now they've got really long trains, and they've sort of optimised them a lot. So apparently you used to get trains that were around 20 wagons long on a console. Now they can get more than 40 wagons in length on a train, on a console. PC, apparently you can get more. They didn't cover a specific number. Again, I might come back to this in a little while, but there's not really a lot more to talk about than what I'm saying here. But they didn't really say a specific number. They didn't confirm a number as to how many a PC could take. I'm assuming by default they will probably make it so that the PC is in line with the console and you only get about 40 wagons. But by the sound of things, if you've got a high-end PC, you would be able to take up to something like 100 plus wagons on a single train, and it wouldn't really cause you any problems with even with the full physics running. Next question, simple to answer. Will it upgrade the sound patch grade in TS 2020? Answer is clearly no. It requires the new game engine. It's been made for the new game and the new game engine, so therefore, if you own sound patch grade on Train Sim World 2020, it will not be upgraded. There was also a question about regarding that, about the preservation or remastery of it. So sound patch grade, to my knowledge, is the only route that is being remastered for Train Sim World out of what we've got for Train Sim World 2 from Train Sim World 2020, sorry. So basically what you've got is obviously all your heritage collection or your preserve collection. That's being kept as it is. They're not doing any updates to that by the sound of things, including any of the physics updates or stuff, which is a shame. I would have liked to have seen some physics update, but they did already say that they weren't going to do any updates regarding the heritage content. But nonetheless, like I say, the sound patch grade is being upgraded to TS World 2 standards. So, what do these standards mean? Well, it means the same track, same mileage, same sort of scenery, and it's pretty much optimization. So in summary, what they said, there's going to be some new visuals. So the visuals will be a bit different, so the lighting will look different. And the way the skies look different. Obviously, we've got these 3D skies coming, which are going to be nice to see. The 3 layers of cloud and stuff, and it's going to be dynamic. That'll be really nice to see. I can't wait to see how that actually affects it. And it sounds silly, but if anybody's used the AP Sky and Weather Enhancement Pack, you'll know how good that is for the game. So, if this is going to do a similar thing, it probably won't change the colour of the game, but the way the weather works will be a nice one to have. They're also introduced a way to have more distance foliage. Now, I don't really play sound patch grade much, so I can't really talk about distance foliage. But apparently, there was not a lot of distance foliage before. That has changed. They've found a way which they can make distance foliage that doesn't lag. Again, the lag was mostly problematic for the consoles. They've sorted that now. It's not going to lag out your game, hopefully. And you'll have trees further in the distance on the hills. You're not going to have bare hills anymore in the distance. There's going to be trees covering them. And you're actually going to be able to see them. A lot of Train Sim World... a lot of Train Sim 2020's hills would look bare. And when you get close to them, there were actually trees on them. But because of the way the distance on assets works, then sometimes you couldn't see them from a certain distance and you're too far away. So with this, now you're going to actually be able to see trees that are really far away but on top of a hill, and the hills aren't going to look bare. There's also going to be some optimization and some glitch fixes and stuff to scenarios, and as we already heard before, there's going to be some new service mode scenarios. They're also apparently doing a slight update to the journey mode thing. Now, I've never really understood the journey mode. I think it sort of takes you through the scenarios and then kind of into a couple of services or something. So I've never really caught on to the whole journey mode thing. But apparently they're doing something to that, which is good. Next up, are there any new assets that have been rebuilt or new stuff that's been added? Answer to that is simply no. Nothing new. Apart from the distance trees, of course, like I say. The other exception to that is that the level crossings are no longer going to work, so they'll no longer go up and down, because apparently this causes a lot of lag. Though apparently there are some talks going on in the DTG offices at the moment about whether they can bring back dynamic level crossings and how they go about doing that. When asked what the main scenery selling point for the route, they basically answered, trees, trees and more trees. It's basically trees. You've got 90% of your sand patch grade is going to be trees and forest, so if you like trees, yeah, you're good. Now we need some little squirrels and birds flying up and down the trees. That'd be cool. That'd be pretty cool. Especially if they add, like, animals and stuff. Like, if you've got a Scottish Highlands route, you've got stags that can walk onto the... Well, maybe not walk onto the line, because then that kind of... If you hit a stag in the game, it then has to bump up the age ratings and stuff, and it gets a bit complex, and a train operating company wouldn't want to have their brand seen as killing sort of small animals and stuff. You know, that's just cruel. So I can see why they wouldn't want that. But it would be nice if you had sort of animals that would walk in and out of the scene every so often. No, that would be the next step for me regarding the natural side of things. So following on from the sort of generics about what they've done to sand patch grade and how it's been improved, and how it's been improved, there was then a sort of a little interlude as to certain other bits that they'll cover in later videos, later live streams, sorry. So these are basically the bits that I don't have. They basically said that the preserved routes are going to be, or preserved content will be talked about later on, because they don't know whether they don't want to confirm anything, which is fair enough, I guess. Like I say, I think it's going to be a big mistake if they launch without certain items of content, but they pretty much have confirmed that they will. So we shall see how that works for them. I guess it's not the worst, as you can still play Train Sim World 2020 to play your old content. But like I say, it doesn't sit well for me to be perfectly honest, that they would consider launching without all of their DLC that they've already got, without you being able to access it, sort of thing. And cross-platform sort of compatibility between sort of stuff, which I'm assuming they just sort of said platform parity. That was about it that they really mentioned. But I'm assuming they mean sort of your score and your career and your Dovetail Live thing, which, like I say, nobody cares about. But apparently they're going to talk about that in a later screenshot. But apparently they're going to talk about that in a later stream anyway, close to the time of release. So we'll look out for that. Like I say, I'll keep you informed when I hear more details about that. So, next they went on to talk about the brand new services that are included. So obviously you got your career, So obviously you got your scenarios and your service mode and stuff. They went on to talk about how they've upgraded the service mode. Unfortunately, as they started talking about the first point, I sort of zoned out a little bit from some of it, because I noticed in the chat there was a dude called James Class 38, which kind of distracted me. I thought it was funny at first, but then the guy started spamming, and I think there may have been some kind of suspicious activity, like a raid. Maybe it was a certain person beginning with L who started it. Who knows? Like I say, I'm just speculating here. But, my advice pretty much here is don't raid streams, don't raid servers. It's just not nice or not fair or not, just don't do it, please. Don't fake yourself out to be someone and then you get what I mean. So the first bit they sort of started talking about was the AC 4400 or whatever it is, the more modern train on Sandpatch. Apparently the screens within it have been upgraded to be more efficient and function slightly better. I don't think they've actually done much functionality wise. They've just sort of optimised the way they work. Again, I don't really drive Sandpatch Grey, so I've never really had any experience with the screens on them, but it'd be nice. That'd be good. Next bit, which they talked about for quite a while, which was good. They talked about wagon generation. Again, you have to really sort of play... You have to really play Train Sim World CSX Heavy Haul to actually really know what they're talking about here. But apparently there were some really questionable consists that would sometimes appear. So you'd have, I'm guessing you'd have sort of like a tanker wagon, followed by an auto-rack car, followed by a flat car, and then a box car, and then a tanker, and then another auto mode. You know, I don't know if it was quite that extreme, but there was some weird sort of mixed rakes going on. So apparently now they've enhanced that, and they've sort of set up specific consists. So it's not going to be random consists anymore. You're going to have a set consist, so it'll be a consist of grain cars or a consist of tankers, I'm assuming, and there'll probably be a few mixed consists that are specifically set up to do that. They also went on to talk about how the actual stock has been enhanced and changed in itself. So they basically said sort of about the weight simulation. So basically now every wagon has a brand new sort of weighting system, and it's heavier when it's loaded and not heavy when it's unloaded, sort of thing. And apparently the braking strengths will also be different. So if you got a really heavy train, then the brakes on the wagon will really clamp to the wheel and really sort of force the brakes on, giving you a much stronger brake force on that wheel. On lighter wagons that are empty, you won't get as much force on them, on the brakes, and that is realistic. On passenger trains, especially all the modern multiple units and stuff, they've got sensors that basically sort of detect the height of the car, and if the car is riding too low because the car's really heavy because they've got a lot of passengers on board, the car will apply more brakes to the wheels than if there's nobody on it. It's clever how it works. It's all sort of mechanical linkage and stuff. And the wagons in Trains in World will basically do that. If you've got a heavy load, the car will brake harder than if you've got a light load. They then went on to speak about the maximum length of trains. Again, I've already said, it's what used to be 20 and now it's 40 plus on console. They did a quick bit of maths because somebody asked about the weight of what you sort of load you could be expecting to be carrying. They did 40 cars with an average of around 130 tons each. 5,200 tons you could be hauling up that hill, which is pretty impressive, I'm not going to lie. You'd probably need a good 3 or 4 locos to get up that hill with it. So, in essence, it's going to be tough now. Apparently, the physics wasn't very great before, and you could sort of fly up the hill without any real problems. But now, if you want to get up that hill, you've really got to sort of ease it in. And I won't go too far into this, because there's stuff about the adhesion physics that they talk about later. But yeah, you've really got to sort of drive and work with the loco in order to be able to get it moving and propel it up the hill properly. They also spoke about the maximum length of trains. They didn't really give a definitive answer, but Sam did sort of ask, you know, could I have a 100-wagon train by shunting around in the yard and then getting a load of wagons together, and finally I'd be able to just build a massive consist. And they, like I said, there wasn't really a conclusive answer as to how the game would perform, so I guess it's down to people experimenting. Apparently people have already done so and they've found interesting things with it, and so yeah. But it'll basically be a thing to wait and see, and then couple as many wagons as you can, see how it pulls up the hill and if the game dies from physics and all that kind of stuff. So in essence, really, you've got double length of your old trains up sandbatch grade, and you've also got a weight that is 6 times as heavy as the old one for wagons. So wagons are now going to be 6 times heavier than they used to be, making them significantly harder to pull up the hill, which is good to see. See, we were always led to believe that was the case anyway, but DTG, you know. So, you know, moving swiftly on, there's no change to the coupling procedure, which I didn't expect. Let's be honest, you wouldn't expect it. It would be nice to see a derail valley type system where you literally get, and I think this is what the guy was probably coming sort of towards. So you literally, in derail valley, if you've not played it, you basically get under the train, you couple up the screw link coupling, you drop it over the hook, you screw it up, you then connect the air, and you open the air mains, and it's awesome. Whereas in Train Sim World, you just sort of walk up, click, and then they couple all together. And it's good that you can sort of walk up to it and couple it, but it would be nice if it was more dynamic so that you can actually couple each bit up individually to make the train work. It feels sort of more satisfactory if it was like that. Thank you, motorbike. So apparently there's new physics on the as far as the adhesion and the braking is concerned on the trains. Again, I won't go too far into the adhesion, but like I say, it's a slight disappointment that the way they said it, they made it sound like they're not going to be doing any adhesion updates to the old trains, which as much as I wasn't expecting a particular sort of specific update for it, I was sort of thinking that maybe the new game engine would automatically apply some new physics laws and rules to the train. Like I say, unfortunately that doesn't seem to be the case. They then went on to talk about the banker locos, or the helper locos that we discussed before. So, again, in my last video, this was the one I did the other day on Sandpatch Grade, they mentioned banker loco services. So basically you're sort of, there are some certain services where you can either be the driving train or you can be the banker. So if you're the banker, you'd be able to couple to the end of the train, run up the hill behind it, helping the loco up to the top. You've got radio control communications and stuff, which will be able to communicate. Again, I'll come back to that bit in a second. And then once you get to the top of the hill, you'll be able to uncouple, take the loco's light engine down the hill, and wait for the next service to do. Somebody also asked how many locos you might find on a consist now, because obviously it was only really 2 you'd find. Again, it's still mostly 2 locos. Apparently there are some with 3 locos that will spawn in. And of course, with your banker locos, you can have 2 on the front and 2 on the back, so you'll end up with 4 locos. Apparently, one scenario has 4 locos on the front of the train. Now, somebody brought up a livery, which I'm assuming is that Sunshine livery or whatever it was, on the GP38-2 or whatever it is. They basically said, will it come over this livery onto this new train? I think it came out with a piece of different DLC. Apparently they're going to they're going to talk about that at a later date, so we'll find out more about that within the Preserve Collection live stream. That they could talk about that. Apparently they've also changed it so the AC4400 can now drive most of the services on the route, because apparently before it couldn't, and people were upset about that. And finally, they spoke about sound quality. Now, you sort of think, oh my god, whenever you put DTG and sound effects together, you sort of think, you know, you sort of groan inside. And yeah, let me just basically say what was said. Basically, they said that the sound's been reworked, so there's a new audio mixing engine that's come along with the new game engine. So stuff like tunnels and certain breaks and stuff like that will sound better because they're mixed better. I don't know exactly what that means yet, but apparently your tunnel, I would assume, would have more reverb to it or something like that. But basically there's no new sound files. All of your sound files are the same as before. Now, I think that the sound files in general are better for Train Sim 2 than they are Train Sim, apart from some of the horns, which could definitely do with an overhaul. As far as they go, there's no new sound files for it. Next up, they gave us some more information on the scenario planner. Somebody asked, can you place down sort of shunting scenarios? So can you have a scenario where you sort of drive down the mountain, drop off your wagons, pick up some more wagons and drive back up the mountain? The answer to that plain and simply is no. It is an A to B setup, so you can't tell it to uncouple and couple certain bits. You can have helpers on the back of your train, but they're part of a pre-made consist, so they won't be able to split at any point. And it's basically A to B, like I say. So you'll be able to say, I want to start here, I want to end here, and I want to stop at these particular stops in the middle to pick up passengers. But you won't be able to do anything interesting, which, as much as I understand, it's not really a scenario planner, it's more of an activity planner, I would say. Well, no, even that's probably a bit strong. It's probably a drive planner, to be honest, would be a better word. Because, like I say, you go from A to B, and you stop at whatever stops you decide to stop at, and you set it all up. There was also a mention about static AI. You can't place static AI in a in a scenario planner scenario. You can place... they've already mentioned before that you can place AI that will travel in the opposite direction, or you can follow AI or something. So you can have moving AI, but you can't have any static AI, which, again, would it really have been that hard to just have some wagon consists which we could place down in a yard? Make it, more interesting when you're going past a yard or a carriage sidings or something. Just place a few empty consists down, I can't imagine it being that hard. Maybe it's something they'll come back to. It would be nice to see something they come back to, because, to be honest, the scenario planner sounds a little bit boring in a way. But at the same time, at least if you want to do something specific from A to B, then you can set that up. And you'll be alright to do so. Plus, you can also drive whatever train you want, assuming it's not a preserved collection train, remember. Finally, with regards to the scenario planner, they went on to talk about what's possible with it. And in that sense, I sort of mean what shouldn't be possible, but what is possible. There was sort of a moment where it's like, oh dear, we know exactly what's coming. And they basically said, yeah, we're going to show you some screenshots that are pretty funny. And they would be funny if you weren't expecting it. But basically, I'll show you the screenshots in just a second. I'll insert them into the video. But by default, let me give you a roundup sort of thing. So by default, the scenario planner will only allow you to place appropriate stock on a route. So if the train comes off of that route, and it has that stock, you'll be able to place that on that. However, you can tick a box which turns all the rules off, meaning electric simulation will no longer be a problem. So you can place your 72 stock on your sandpatch grade or your ICE down the tunnels at Baker Street and the rest. And that is honestly actually a good thing. Like, sure, it's definitely not prototypical, but that's not the point. The point of Quick Drive in Train Simulator was to basically, if you want to do something sensible, then yeah, but if you want to do something stupid, then go ahead. Thrash the Super 47 down the blooming Corris Railway or something, something stupid. We can do that in Train Sim World, and that's exciting, it shouldn't be that exciting, but it is. It's interesting that and especially the fact that it's more powerful than the Quick Drive, because like I say, with the Quick Drive, you were still limited to, is it an electric route? Right, you can drive electric diesels. Is it a diesel route? Well, you can't drive an electric down it. Now, you can drive an electric down a diesel route with absolutely no problems if you tick this box. So, to conclude, by default, you'll only be able to place what you can place by default in the game, what's supposed to be there in the simulation. If you tick this box, you can place whatever you like. Now I'm going to show you the screenshots that they showed us, just to show you what I mean by it. So, of course, the first image is of an ICE 3 on the Sandpatch grade route near the post office. And, of course, there's not really a lot to say on this. I've already basically said what I need to say already about the fact that it's really nice to see that this is actually a possibility and that you can actually do this. It's cool. It's not realistic, but it's just cool and it's nice, and I really like the concept of it. Second picture is obviously of the 1972 stock. I think they said it was approaching the top of the summit on the Sandpatch grade. But yeah, you can see obviously again, no third rail, just like the ICE and overheads. No third rail, no fourth rail with this train. Another interesting thing to note in this screenshot here is that they've actually fixed the number on the 72 stock, and probably a lot of you will remember that I sort of had a go at them about this, that the number wasn't right. And it's good to see that they've actually fixed it now. It obviously didn't take them long. It was never going to be a hard fix, but it was just a nuisance. It was the way it was. But they've obviously done it already, so that's good. I'm pleased with that. And finally, with this last screenshot, you can see that they've actually used one of each type of train from the different route. And if you think about it, this is actually quite a key bit of information. If you tick this tick box and allow any trains to run on any route, that means that not only can you place as many as you like, you can place whatever you like anywhere. So you can have all your AI at completely the wrong trains, and you can have all of the different trains in your library in the game. And like I say, this is really key, and it's going to be really good to see that when they actually finish it and they release it. And I actually can't wait to see the scenario planner now. As much as it's not exactly what we want, I think for something like this, if you want to do something ridiculous like this, then yeah, it's really going to fall into its own, and it's going to be a brand new sort of category and almost a new era of train simulation, because it's just fun. It's just fun, like I say. Next up, they did a quick sort of overview look at some of the game sort of engine type stuff that they've been working on. Pretty much, they've overhauled a load of stuff to make it optimized. So again, the trees, the trains, the physics, pretty much everything you can think of by the sound of things has been optimized by this new version. So that's good, because I used to get sort of about 40 frames. I generally now will consistently get sort of 20 frames on any Train Sim route, Train Sim World 2 route. So if we can get some more frames, or even if we can't get some more frames, we can get some more realistic feeling trains, then yeah, I'm down for that. There's also going to be on the pause menu a new statistics sheet. So pretty much, what you're going to be able to do, if you press pause, you'll be able to see your train weight, your loco numbers, your destination, your calling pattern, your timetable, the type of goods you're carrying, I think, and basically all the information you need. You'll also get, before you start a service, there'll also be all of that information that pops up on the screen before you start, so you know what weight you're carrying and where you're travelling to and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, if you forget that, you can go into the pause menu and you'll be able to find that information quickly. Which is one of the things that I mentioned before, actually, about them needing to add some kind of information about your service. And it's good that they've listened, obviously not to me, but to sort of the wider community, and they've actually implemented that. Next up, they discussed the variable adhesion. Now, this was a key marketing feature for Train Sim World 2, as we all know. So obviously, in order to be able to get this across, it needs to be good. So, what did they say? They basically said pretty much what we'd already know, to be honest. They removed the grip from the rails. So obviously you're not going to be sliding around like you're on some flipping ice. But you're not also going to be able to grab a 5,000 ton train and just whack it up into full power and yom, off you go, sort of thing. So you will get wheel slip when you try and start up. And also when you slow down and you brake, if you put the brakes on too hard, you'll get wheel slide as you come downhill. This is apparently going to be dynamic to the snow and the rain. Again, it's slightly disappointing because we all thought we already had that feature implemented. Clearly we didn't. We were sold slightly up the river with this one. But it's good that they're now bringing it into the game. And it'll be good to see how much difference it actually makes to the game. It'd be interesting to know if you can sort of power up the hill at Queen's Park in a 72 stock at full pelt without having any issues with wheel slip. They've also mentioned certain wheel slip procedures. The AC4400 will apparently have sort of a creep control. So it basically works out where the point of wheel slip is, and it keeps the power just underneath that wheel slipping point in order to be able to make sure that it uses the maximum power it can without slipping. For older trains that don't have this feature, you know, it's basically going to be trial and error. You put too much power on it, it starts sliding. You put too little power on it and you start slowing down when you're going down a hill. So you need to sort of find that balance, which is good. Another thing they mentioned is sparks. So we had sparks on the Class 66 when they initially released that for Great Western Express, and they were nice and all. Like I've mentioned in a previous video, they were apparently physics based, so they would actually hit stuff and bounce around and all that kind of good stuff, so they'd be pretty good. Now they're taking it one step further, so your wheels will have a temperature measurement on them. As you start slipping, your wheel will heat up. Once your wheel heats up, the more heat you get, the more sparks will fly. When it gets really hot, you'll have sparks flying everywhere. And that is awesome to me. I absolutely love things that simulate sort of heat and deformation and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And it's going to be really nice to know that the game is actually thinking about how hot that traction tyre should be and making sparks fly when it actually should. And, you know, if you start slipping, you're not instantly going to get sparks flying everywhere. But if you've been slipping for a while, you're going to be flying sparks. Next up, they mentioned sanding. Sanding will work and it will help your grip. Obviously, it's not going to solve everything. So if you sort of going up a hill with a heavy train, you're smacking the full power and put the sand on, you ain't going to stop slipping. But you might be able to get away with sort of 50% power and be absolutely fine going up a hill with that. And you'll have no problems at all, sort of thing. So yeah, it's not going to be a complete fix. They're not sort of doing it so that it fixes everything. But if you need more adhesion on a hill start, then you'll be able to use sand. Unfortunately, though, they said that the sand won't run out, which is a slight problem for me personally, because I would have liked to have seen the sand run out. As much as it means you might not be able to complete a scenario, at the same time, it would make it more interesting, because then you have to be conservative with your sand. You might have to sort of restart 2 or 3 times in order to be able to finish the scenario. And they've done that because some people would literally just drop sand, and that's alright, but maybe there should be a tick option for that, where you've got a certain amount of sand, even if it was just a sort of consistent sand level across every train. Really, it should be simulated individually for each train, but even if it was just consistent across every train, it would be slightly better than the way they're doing it now. Also, there's going to be no visuals and no sound, which is a shame, because obviously, really what you want to see when you pop out the cab is the sand flying everywhere, and you ain't going to be able to see any sand flying everywhere. Not much to talk about with regards to the livery designer, but they did specifically mention stuff that's relating to CSX Heavy Haul. So, somebody asked, can you repaint the wagons and coaches of the game? And if so, what will happen? Well, if you repaint all your coaches and wagons, then apparently they will be put into a list. So obviously your initial skins won't overwrite, they'll become a reskin and their own separate thing, as we already know, and then you'll get another vehicle. Upon spawning a train, if the game finds that, I don't know, there's a gondola car, we'll say, that it wants to put in this train, it will basically look down the list of all the liveries of gondola car you have. So if you've painted 3 or 4 different liveries on a gondola car, for those who don't know what that is, that's the American term for a coal wagon, pretty much. But yeah, if you've painted onto a gondola car, and the game finds some of the specific liveries, there is a random chance that that wagon in that consist will spawn in as one of your reskins. And to me, that's really cool. I mean, it kind of is a bit lacking in the fact that if you want to drive a specific CSX train, and I don't know, you've got Union Pacific or Santa Fe liveried coal wagons, and you don't want them in your train, but they're going to appear anyway, that's a bit of a disadvantage. But if you want a mixture of stuff, then yeah, it works great for that. The other thing is, every time you spawn into the game will completely randomise which cars are in which livery. So once, let's say, for example, you have a red, a blue, and a pink car. First of all, the game might decide to spawn blue, pink, red. Then after that, it might go red, blue, pink. And then it might go blue, pink, blue. And, you know, there's so many random combinations. And it'd be really interesting to see what consist the game comes up with and actually know that each time you drive, it would be different. And like I say, I reckon that'd be nice, especially if you've got a heritage run. If you repaint some Mark 1 or Mark 2 coaches into various different heritage liveries, you often see heritage trains that go along and they've got a maroon coach, and then a chocolate and cream coach, and then a blood and custard, and then another maroon, and then a blue and grey, and, you know, and the game will actually sort of start to create consists that look a bit randomised like that. And there's just something cool about that, I think. It's awesome. like, it does put a smile on my face. Like I say, the disadvantage is if you want a specific type of wagon, you may not get that type of wagon, but if you're free for whatever you want, then yeah, it could be really interesting combinations you get. Sam also had a really interesting and pretty clever idea. If you have different wagons with different letters on them, so if you made a wagon that had A on it, and then a wagon that had B on it, and then a wagon that had C on it, and you made every letter of the alphabet, and then you load up the train with the random wagons, there's a possibility that the game could spell random words. And I wanted to give this point a sort of specific mention, because just imagine how awesome that would be if you get a really, really weird word sort of thing. And I don't know, it's completely unrealistic. It's as useless of an idea as putting an ICE on Sandpatch Grade. But it just sounds cool. Let's be honest, it just sounds cool. Scenarios and services. They talked about this a little bit further back in the stream, but then they came back to it a tiny bit. So, how many scenarios are there going to be with Sandpatch Grade? There are going to be 8. How many services are there going to be? There are going to be 65. What new services are going to be added? There are new shunting and helper services. On top of that, some of the old scenarios have been slightly updated, overhauled, or there have been several more of them added. End-to-end runs, including obviously the helper locomotives, coupling and uncoupling. That's all now part of a certain service. Somebody then asked, can we then do a day in the life of type scenario game? And the answer to that is yes, you could. So basically, they went through a sort of simulation, they went through a situation where you start early in the morning. Your locos are sat in the depot. First thing you do, you pull them out the depot. Once you've taken them out the depot, you might do a bit of shunting. And then once you've done shunting, you might go and deliver something. You might go and deliver something else. Do a bit more shunting. You might have to wait around and then help a loco up the hill and then do a bit more shunting for the day and help prepare trains. So basically, it's kind of what we were sort of going through before. So the timetable will keep running and running and running, and you'll see the trains moving around and everything changes as the day goes on. But this is sort of in a different way. So you'll couple up to wagons, and if you're in the main yard, you'll actually get to see wagons coming and going, and someone's being attached from trains and detached from trains, and trains picking up stuff and dropping stuff off, and you're shunting stuff, and so basically the yard is always active. Somebody also asked from that, is it gonna be busy at all times? Apparently it will be. I can't see it. We've got to think this is DTG's scenario creation here, so I would imagine there will be a few points, well, quite a few points when there's not a lot going on, especially in the yard. Apparently there's not a lot that actually goes on in Sandpatch Yard anyway, so we've got to bear that in mind. There's not always going to be a train moving in practice, but, you know, for a lot of the day it sounds like there will be something going on. Another question that was asked is, will there be more usage of cold start functionality? Obviously, cold start has been a thing in CSX Heavy Haul from the start of the game. You've always been able to cold start a loco, and it's always been interesting to do. They've got, like, you know, you have to prime it and start the engine from outside, and you can open all the cabinets and switch on all the switches and stuff. The reason why they can't really add a lot of cold start stuff is down to the AI. The AI cannot cope in service mode with trains that are shut down. Apparently, if they're shut down, then you have some weird audio nonsense going on, and it doesn't work out very nicely. So they need to develop the technology for that. So in answer to that, there are no cold starts actually planned for services, but the scenarios that there were cold starts, there are still cold starts for them. Somebody also asked about the hump yard. Now, I didn't know there was a hump shunt yard in the route, but apparently there is. The answer to that question is no. The hump shunt will not be used as a hump shunt. If you don't know what a hump shunt is, basically a train pushes a wagon over a hill. The wagon rolls down the other side, and somebody puts it into a specific siding using radio control points. Per Personally, I can't see how that technology could be implemented into Train Sim World due to the way the game is set up and the AI works. I'd be very shocked if they managed to get that actually functioning. So I can't see a hump shunt coming to the game anytime soon, but it would be nice if we had sort of like a Class 13 at Tinsley and we could do all that kind of stuff. Another reason why the hump shunt won't be used is that it's not in service in real life anymore. And a couple of final notes on the gameplay. There are now a couple of new services for coal loading, and there's more shunting that can be done as before. Okay, so this is the final bit of the video. That concludes all of the information that we were told in the live stream. A couple of hours before the information live stream took place, we had this brand new article come out, which has some brand new screenshots of Train Sim World 2 routes. So I'm just going to quickly go through and read the articles. You can see the screenshots. I'll show you the bigger images in the middle in a second. It's Friday, means the new Train Sim World 2 screenshot on a dramatic release trailer early in the week to showcase Sandbatch Grey. Take a closer look at each locomotive and the alignments for all 3 routes with 6 new screenshots. With light speeds up to 250 kilometers an hour, the DB ICE-3M is really able to pick up the pace, gliding through the German countryside with ease. As you see from the images above, the line had its importance accommodating newer high-speed train. On each of the line's sweeping curves, the track has been laid with a reverse camber. This ensures the high-speed trains can take the corners at greater speed. A little bit of information on each one. Much of the London Underground network is in fact above ground. With attending its 25 stations above ground, the Bakerloo line is no exception. Above, you will find the first image showing off one of the above ground sections of the route. Here you can clearly see an early morning train heading out of the yard. It will soon be full of commuters making its way to Queen's Park Station. Well, we'll see how full it will actually be, but you can see they've actually done London Road Depot. Now, I think I mentioned before, I was slightly nervous that they would just completely ignore London Road Depot, so I'm very happy to see London Road. Finally, steep grades, heavy trains are going to test your skills as an engineer to make the rigorous climbs up Sandpatch Grade to the summit. Not only have the locomotives been lovely and recreative, extensive work has gone into making you feel like you're really traversing the mountains, as you can see in this fantastic image above. And we shall go on to the Facebook page and have a quick look at the images here. So we have the IC3, which looks very nice. Like I say, you can see that they've got the sort of the window there, so you can see out the front, which should look pretty cool even in a passenger view. I like the reflections on the glass, so you can see the rest of the train as well. That's good. Good that they've done that. The body side doesn't look particularly shiny, but maybe it is slightly matted. I don't know. I've never seen one in real life. Again, another ICE in one of the bigger stations. I got no idea where it is. I'm not going to try and pronounce where it is. There's a sign there. You might be able to read it if you zoom in on the video or the photo. CSX, of course, we've seen the pictures of this before. We all know what CSX looks like. But just in case, here's some more screenshots of CSX. Looking very pretty as always. Like all the texturing on the rocks. That's good. The bushes. And the fence, actually. The fence is quite nice. It's not just a straight wire. It actually sort of droops slightly, which is nice. Of course, here we go, London Road Depot, as all the comments were saying. Somebody wondering if we have all the depots. But yeah, we've got the numbers. It'd be nice to see 3299, see if they've actually included that as a valid number, which you can take out. That'd be nice. I also want to know if the coaches are actually going to match up to the unit number. I would assume so. I would hope so. But we shall see, only time will tell. Yeah, it's quite nice. It's very nice. The Shard kind of makes me question slightly, though. I'm sure the model for the Shard looked better in Train Sim Classic, but who is to say, you know? Yeah, okay. We'll see. We shall see. If it looks nice at night, that'd be half of it. That'll be nice. Finally, we got another underground picture. This time at Piccadilly Circus. And yeah, again, it looks a bit too clean. Platform looks a bit too shiny. Nice to see passengers on the platforms now, though. And I've just noticed that uniform for the driver has actually been really well recreated. That's actually quite nice, that uniform. It does look immediately like the London Underground uniform, as it should. So I'm pleased with that. That looks pretty decent. Anyway, guys, I hope you have enjoyed today's video. Like I say, once we get more Train Sim 1 information, I shall pass this on to you. Please leave a comment if you want to say anything about what I've said or anything. Have your own opinions, please let me know. Anyway, guys, like I say, thank you very much for watching, everybody, and I will see you all next time. Goodbye.